Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the relationship advice subreddit from a throwaway account and says, I, female 25, went no contact with my family. Male 54, female 50, and male 20. When I was 18. Now they're reaching out. What should I do? For whatever reason, my parents didn't want me. Once they had my brother, who we'll call Adam, I was pretty much ignored. They didn't abuse me, but I was pretty neglected. Everything was about Adam and how smart he was, or how athletic he was, or how he was just the best thing since sliced bread. Then there's me. A pretty average kid who got decent grades, didn't play sports, wasn't super popular, and liked to read books. I can't tell you how many times I heard, why can't you be more like Adam? What made me cut off my family was when they didn't attend my high school graduation. Adam had gotten hurt that morning, a sprayed ankle I was eventually told, and our parents rushed him to the ER because he swore up and down he broke his leg. I only got one text from my mum telling me that they would make it up to me with a dinner to some family restaurant I mildly enjoyed. I was done after that. I'd been used to being neglected or forgotten about, but I thought they would at least attend my graduation. I moved out that summer to go live with my cousin, female 30, and her wife in Arizona. Then I blocked them and they haven't been in my life since. My family did try to get in contact with me after I left, but it was mostly just telling me I was a bad daughter and overly sensitive and didn't care about Adam. Years later, I still didn't have any contact with them. I'm now married to my husband John, male 26, who loves me and treats me like I matter. We also have a daughter, 2 female, that I love more than the world itself. I have a close-knit group of friends and a job that makes decent money that I enjoy. I'm not saying my life is perfect or a dream or anything, but it's definitely leagues better than my childhood. Which brings me to last week, when my cousin called to tell me they had a message from my parents and my brother. This isn't anything new, but the message itself was. Instead of the usual blame game, my cousin told me that they wanted to apologize for everything. With Father's Day coming up, they were hoping I could come down to visit with my family and we could have a discussion. I know most people would scream, "Don't, it's a trap, they want something from you." But I'm not so sure. For one thing, none of them have ever reached out to apologize for anything towards me, but I still have connections to my extended family, so I have info about my parents and Adam from them. None of them are sick or dying or need an organ. They're not in debt and need help with finances. My parents aren't hoping to retire and want to be supported. Adam doesn't need help with student loans. Scholarship kid. So it could be genuine, but at the same time, I don't know if I care enough to have a discussion. My life has been great without them, so why do I need them now? I wanted them as a kid, but not anymore. However, John says this could be a genuine olive branch since they never apologize. He might be right. Even if I don't agree to have contact, I might finally get some closure or at least some answers as to why they didn't want me, or why Adam was so much better than me. Should I hear them out or just tell my cousin to tell them to go step on Legos? I'll take any advice at this point. These ones are always, I find anyway, incredibly hard to comment on because, it all depends on your individual feelings. Like you said, you could go and it might give you some closure. If you think that's what it's going to do, then fair play to you, You don't have to forgive them. You can hear them out. You can ask them questions about what the fuck happened in your past, why they treated you like that. Or at the same time, you can ask yourself the question about what have they brought to your life? They brought nothing, and I'm suspecting that they want in your life now because you have a child. That's what popped into my mind initially, that they want to be involved in the grandchild's life. My mind, and because, I've read God knows how many of these Reddit stories now, is that they're doing it for some shitty reason. You've covered a lot of the usual bases about the organs and stuff like that, but I suspect it's going to be something crappy. Now, if I was in your position, and I'm not saying OP should do this at all, as I said, they should make their choice, make their own choices. I'm always super curious in my mind about, I'd want to ask the questions. I like the closure. I don't think it would change my view of them. I would like to hear what they had to say just because. But Trash Cat Attack says, from someone who is also no contact with immediate family members, I suggest you weigh the cost and benefit. What will it cost you? Emotionally, financially, physically, and is it worth the risk? Walk through possible outcomes, best case and worst case scenarios. For me, if they wanted to apologize and talk, I wouldn't be willing to take the time and money to fly to them and do it on their terms. They could have sent a letter, right? The answer is yes. Due to the gaslighting and psychological manipulation my family has put me through, I'd want it all in writing. I'd hear them out, but want to see it before I even gave it a chance. Opie says they don't actually have my address, so they couldn't send a letter directly to me, but they could send it to my cousin and she could always give it to me. Square Half says, I would not contact them. I highly doubt they're remorseful. It's likely that they want something. You have your family now, husband and child. Why allow your parents to say anything? Opie says, if they did want something, I feel like my cousin would have told me or warned me that something was going on then. Yet there aren't any signs that they need anything, other than have a discussion with me apparently. DT says they want access to your daughter. I would be cautious. Opie says I thought that too, but my husband said that if they just wanted access to our daughter, they would have tried to reach me when she was born, unless my brother is suddenly sterile. It's not like they won't have any more grandkids. Scupper Splug says, girl, you just got past the most miserable babysitting years / the years where you are most exhausted and likely to need a break. It makes total sense for self-absorbed grandparents to only reach out now that she's a precious 2-year-old. In their minds, now they can be fun grandparents instead of helpful ones. Opie says, reading this reminded me of what my mother used to say to me all the time. You were a difficult baby, always crying and whining and needy. Your brother was so easy and such an angel. Opie then continues, now I'm thinking you might be onto something, like maybe they didn't want to see my baby in her infancy because they thought she'd be just like me. And God forbid they deal with that again. / sarcasm. So Opie came back into the post some days later and says, hey guys, a lot of you gave solid advice on my first post. I really appreciate it. I did ask my friends for their own advice too, but they had more bust their kneecap school of thought. Funny, but not so helpful at the time. Anyway, even though a lot of you warned me, I was just too curious to not talk to my family. Still, I told my cousin to tell them that I was not meeting them for Father's Day. I'd always intended to reject the idea. I wanted to celebrate John and my father-in-law for being awesome, and that I wanted to do a Zoom meeting instead. I was expecting them to pitch a fit, but they agreed. Yesterday we met on Zoom. I made sure to have a meeting at my cousin's house because my cousin is my space and I don't like intruders, whether in person or virtual. John was hiding in the room out of sight and my daughter was with my cousin's wife. Long story short, my mother is a revolving door and both my parents are idiots. To make it a longer story, my mother had an affair with my uncle Rick, male 60, my dad's older brother, and got caught after she found out she was pregnant. My dad forgave her and agreed to raise me as his as long as they never did a paternity test. Apparently it was easier to act as my father if he didn't have confirmation that I was his brother's child. Spoiler alert, I'm not Rick's kid. Unfortunately for me, I've always been my dad's bio daughter. Rick apparently can't have kids and my dad only found out on Mother's Day when Rick's wife made a joke about it. So my parents just resented me all this time because they were convinced I was Rick's child, despite not having proof. It didn't help that I was just so mediocre compared to Adam, like how Rick is compared to my dad. What I mean by that is, my dad has a fancy desk job in a titled position and Rick is just your average truck driver, so clearly that must have meant I couldn't be my father's child. / sarcasm. They begged for forgiveness. My mum tried to blame my dad for not taking the test. My dad tried to blame it on my mum for being a truck stop for Rick. But they both wanted me to forgive them because they were sick with regret of how they treated me over a misunderstanding. They swore up and down, even if they were always there for me. They still loved me and were still my parents, and we can be a real family now that the misunderstanding was finally cleared up. Even Adam was pushing hard for it. People asked about our relationship in my last post, but There's not really much to say. He was like a roommate. I was never bullied by him and he didn't really interact with me, though he definitely reveled in our parents' favoritism. Still, they were all very sorry, but I had to understand why my parents acted like they did. Not everyone wants to make it up to me and be a part of my life again and be the best grandparents and uncle they can be to my daughter. I obviously told them no. Anyone with eyes could see they just wanted forgiveness to make themselves feel better. I told them that my life was better without them and I didn't need them anymore. They got mad at that and called me heartless and cruel and a bad daughter for being so unforgiving and for not being more understanding towards them, because it was just a mistake that had a shitty childhood and had to play second fiddle to Adam. I just told them to forget I existed and ended the call. Then I burst into tears and my husband had to comfort me. Their insults didn't hurt me, even after all this time of no contact. I'm used to that. But all that time feeling like shit and suicidal and wondering what I did to deserve my mistreatment was just a waste. All because my parents were massive douche canoes with chicken nuggets for brains. I'm glad I didn't waste money to go see them. I'm also glad I heard them out for my own closure. They're trying to aggressively reach out and contact me, even getting other relatives to do so. I've already got a bunch of emails and texts this morning ranging from pleas to just hear them, and insults about being cruel and heartless. I've been ignoring them because I've washed my hands of my family and will continue to remain in no contact. So yeah, thank you for all your advice. It meant a lot. My word, I am so pissed off for you, OP, that after all this, they got mad at you and called you heartless and cruel and a bad daughter again after what they fucking put you through. Are you kidding me? You're not wrong about them having chicken nuggets for brains. And look, I'm not saying you should reply to any of these other relatives, but what have they been told in this situation? If they know the full story here and they're still backing them up, they're just as bad as them. And petty me this is, would want to like just have like a scripted response to all these people outing exactly what happened to you and what went on. The mum, the uncle, Rick, the dad thinking that you weren't his, and then them treating you like shit to the point of suicidal thoughts. What you had to go through, then cut these assholes off and enjoy your life. Like you said at the beginning, if they offered you nothing, they bring nothing to your life. You have a good life, a good support system around you. Go and enjoy that and forget about these people. There was a couple of top comments on this one. So Prior Benefit said, I'm sorry you had to go through this. What a cluster. Curious says, the audacity of saying you were so mediocre, clearly there was no way we'd ever think you're biologically dads, so really it's your own fault for being so mid. You owe them forgiveness and understanding because you suck too much to be treated well by your parents. You know what? At least you got an answer. It's a moronic answer, but it's an answer. Now you know that your family remains shit. Good for them. They have each other. Stay on course. You've clearly nothing to gain from mending fences, except being called too average to be some fancy, successful arsehole's kid. Melodramatic Mouse says, I kind of wonder if they ever did a paternity test on the golden child. That would be interesting and I bet possibly somewhat surprising. I think that if anyone wants to get a hold of OP in the future, she should demand one as a stipulation. It'd be hilarious if Adam ends up not being Dad's kid. Didn't even consider that. Holy moly. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Entitled People subreddit. It does have an update as well from Kinda Deadly, who says, brother complains about family using his inherited summer cabin while staying at our home for free. It starts off, like, grow up for fuck's sake, he's 40 and has no idea how to spend or save money. He's got dad's cabin worth $100,000 and is now bitching that we, the other siblings, got money, $10,000, and he wants cash too, to buy a new guitar because he still thinks he can make it big in music. Lol, no. Meanwhile, spending hundreds on designer clothes for his teen son, who he often yells and cusses at. He stays with us many weekends when he has band practice in our town, because our terminally ill mum lives with us and wants him by. And because I'm the scapegoat who was just ready to buy a house with my husband when dad died 2 years ago. And mum has been dying for years now. Well, she's kicking cancer and inviting my arsehole brother over every chance she gets. We, my family, haven't even used the cabin once since Dad passed, and I know Mum still pays a lot towards it. But I'm getting very mildly infuriated about my golden child brother and narcissistic mother. I've decided to ban him from here since his last stupid outburst. No more visits here without his wife, who I adore, and kids. It really sucks having to live with your narcissistic mum who so obviously favors your brother, so can't live with him. She can't live with him because obviously he doesn't want that, nor can he afford the money or time. Plus it seems his marriage is failing soon too. So Helpful Hour says to OP, you don't have to live with your narcissistic mother who so obviously favors your brother. They made you the scapegoat growing up and that's a shitty thing for parents to do. But you don't have to spend your whole life in that role. OP says that's so fucked. It wasn't supposed to be this long because she was told by doctors she might only have weeks like 3 years ago. And again, maybe a year ago. But she won't let anyone else into these appointments, so who knows now. But I can't toss her out without becoming an arsehole myself. I think she's living on for spite, lol. Sorry for my dark humour, but now it seems like a hole I dug myself into. But it's mostly my brother that this post was about anyway. And if I'm being straight up, I didn't want to say it straight away after the post because it seemed like a really shitty thing to say. You've already said how much of a narcissist she is. She just said this so she can live with you and keeps coming up, oh yeah, making out she's going for an appointment. Oh yeah, the doctor's saying, oh, it's not long now, and just stringing you along so you continue to care for her in this way. Nurse Penguin said pretty much the same to OP. They said, yeah, pretty sure she lied about her impending death to convince you to buy the house so she has somewhere to live without having to pay for it. Time to put your foot down and tell her guests are at your discretion as the homeowner, and he is no longer welcome unless he pays for the privilege and respects you and your rules. This just got me thinking about the whole cancer side of things, and like if she's told that basically she's terminal, I would imagine, and I know it depends on the type of cancer and stuff like that, but she'd have a lot of medication. I remember my dad, pretty much as soon as he was told he was terminally ill, the amount of medication he had, holy shit. But again, he had mesothelioma and, you know, we're in the UK, so I don't know. But Hiking says, sounds like you could use a vacation. Idea, offer your brother $10,000 to buy the cabin outright. Go up there and relax for a week or two, then sell the cabin for $100K. Step 4, profit. OP says, lol, that's an absurd idea. My brother is insane and thinks he should somehow be able to profit from his inheritance, even though Dad's dying wish was that the whole family could still use it together. Well, maybe he should have focused more on being a better dad, not cheating every chance he got. No Gene says, definitely tell your mum that if she invites him again, she'll be leaving with him. OP says, we've told her that he needs to ask us. It's funny sad to me though that my brother is too scared to ask, text me. Instead always asking my husband, because he knows I don't mince my words, I guess. My husband is more diplomatic. But maybe it's just because my brother is such a misogynistic narcissist that he'd rather talk to my husband than me, his sister. I even told my mum earlier last week that he's welcome to come if his wife and children come too. Which was fine until the last minute. My stupid brother informed mum only he was coming with his teenager, because he doesn't have to look after him. He fucked off for most of the time to go play guitar anyway. So OP updates their post and says, my mother, who lives with me and my family and is going through cancer, supposedly dying, and I already talked about my idiot brother's 40 male and her plan to get him in my house for one night so he can get free babysitting from her and a place to sleep after his guitar gig this weekend. I told her no, I didn't think so, like 3 weeks ago. Then my idiot brother texts my husband today asking to come, because his wife is going to a music festival and he has this hobby gig, so he tried to invite himself over again. My husband responded no, not possible because of our reasons like him traveling and wanting to be alone after. Had my brother asked me, which he never does because he's scared of my snarky responses, I would have asked stuff like, when's the last time we're invited to your place or your summer house? Did we invite you guys over? No. It's always been you inviting yourself. Well, no more. And how fucking dare you think you're entitled to come anytime you please, or complaining that people, family, are using your cabin like Dad wanted, or staying at our place so often. You guys, he had all of our family over at his cabin and didn't even invite us for one day. Not that we would have gone, because fuck him, but the audacity and self-delusion. Not only from him, but our mum too. I think my idiot brother reported back to our mum about our refusal, but she huffed and puffed and then locked herself in her room. Lol. All day before, she was being so nice, but I saw right through that BS and knew the ask was coming. I'm actually surprised my idiot brother asked today. Usually he waits until last minute. He's banned. We just haven't said that outright to them because there's a lot going on. And I do like his wife, but I wonder how long it's going to take my idiot brother and mother to realize. So some people were questioning OP about the extended family going to the cabin and ignoring OP. OP said he invited all the other siblings and their whatevers and mum. Not sure who else. Just like Dad's funeral, where my family sat together and excluded me and my family to sit in the far end corner. Man, I'm getting angrier by the minute thinking back on all the BS. And then someone says, so why are you letting your mother have access to you like that? OP says, this past year I've started therapy and I've come to realize that I'm the scapegoat. I've been bullied and ostracized and ridiculed by my family all my life. When I tried and very nearly succeeded in ending my life, none of them gave a damn. My therapist has helped me build boundaries, and it's a shock to my mum and idiot brother. I've built the coffin now. I'm hammering the last nails in. Another commenter says to OP, if your family doesn't want to be a part of yours, then you make your own family. OP says, and I even say that myself. We're planning to move far away in a couple of years, and I fully expect to gain no contact with all my family then. Why not start already? Fuck them. They never give a shit about me. My SO and I are just trying to figure out the best way to navigate this. It's clear my mum cannot and will not understand how bad the situation is for me and my husband's mental health. And like I've said in other comments, we're dealing with a lot of other stuff too. I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. And there was a lot of other comments, and I agree with these comments as well. I think it's time for mum to go to the cabin with a golden child so you can live your life, especially you're going to need the room soon. But I'm super glad to hear that you're seeking therapy and you're getting therapy as well, and you're starting to get the realizations about how you was treated in the past growing up. You know, it's not always easy to see when we come into these stories and we see comments like grow a spine or whatever. It's never that easy. It's easy for us when we're reading like a small part of someone's life, but when you've lived it, it's all been normalized for you. It's a lot more difficult. To continue to set them boundaries, ship her off with her golden child son if I was you. And I really do wish you all the best for you and your family, OP. Much love. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. And I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.